Brad, just in general, your thoughts on another rivalry matchup for you guys this weekend?
Yeah, no, we've turned the page from last weekend and had a good week of preparation and practice here. But yeah, we built our schedule around having tough opponents. We got one coming in this weekend, and I think it's a situation where we're continuing to build and grow our group and kind of have that short-term, narrow focus on what we have to do on the job at hand. And again, that's Friday night as the first game, and knowing that it's going to be probably a series that's going to be watched around the country here as far as two really good teams going after it. So again, like I said, we just got to continue this week of preparation and focus on the short term.
You guys have played them basically every year since you've been head coach, and I know you guys are working on a future one. Why is this an important? Why do you want to play this series?
Well, I think it's great for college hockey. You go back to the old WCHA days, and tradition and history of players, coaches, fans, as far as enjoying it from all aspects of it, and it creates a buzz and excitement. And both teams usually, and they do, have elite players on their rosters, and it's nice to have competition against two, probably evenly matched teams here as far as trying to play a good weekend of hockey. And I just think it's good overall for the growth of the game, knowing that both teams are willing to play each other on a yearly basis, even though they're in different conferences.
Emotions can run high on this one. I know there were majors in both teams last year. How do you get your guys to walk the line this weekend?
Next play mentality. It's got to be that. I think we're all excited to play this series, but when a play happens, we got to be concerned about the next play, or thinking about what's the next play is, instead of just kind of relying on whether it was a positive or a negative shift that just happened. Keeping your emotions in check, playing from whistle to whistle, and just making sure that there's a really a strong focus on that next play.
With 14 guys that have never played in this, how do you get them ready for what to know what to expect?
Well, I think, like we talked about, the practice, setting up practices that's conducive to what it's going to look like this weekend. The other thing is, some guys have played this series over the last couple of years, and relying on those guys as far as telling the new guys as far as what that looks like. And then obviously, just getting ahead of it here with communication from the coaching staff here of preparing our guys the best that they can to set them up for success on Friday. But I just think it leads into just communication of what that is, and not get too overly ramped up before the puck drops. Obviously, we want to have high energy during the weekend, but making sure that we culminate to get to Friday and make sure that we all of our energy is on Friday and Friday night.
Playing Wisconsin the game before help get guys ready for that? I know they're another longtime rival.
Yeah, for sure it does. Obviously Wisconsin and Minnesota are both in the same conference, and they've had some success over the last few years here and within that conference, and I think it does give you familiarity as far as from one weekend to the next weekend on what that looks like. But at the end of the day, Minnesota had a really strong year last year. They did lose some key influential players, but they have some really good returners and some good freshmen in their lineup too. So it's a situation where I think both sides are going to learn a lot from each other on Friday night, and again, we want to make sure that we're ready for that.
The fact it's 1 versus 5 too, does that kind of make it feel like old time rivalry?
Yeah, it does. The good thing about our group is we really don't focus on the polls. They come out each Monday and different things like that. We look on kind of the result of what we had on the past weekend and what we want on the weekend going forward here, and those things take care of itself. So when you talk about 1 versus 5, I think from the outside, people see that. From the inside, we look at it as two very good teams here that are fighting for points, fighting for pairwise points, and trying to continue to build and grow our group.
You've gone against Bob Motzko a lot in your career, both St. Cloud and Minnesota. Just kind of talk about your guys' relationship and what he kind of brings as a coach too.
Yeah, so I said the other day about respect, and I do feel that way. I think obviously he respects our group, we respect their group and what they do, but we're very competitive. on the ice, recruiting, everything goes into it. Right? Both sides want to win, and I think that's why both organizations have had a lot of success. Him as a coach, I think he does a really good job with him and his staff when preparing his group as well. And I think when he went in there, he changed some things and had some success. So, like I said, they do a good job, and we feel we do a very good job as well.
Hop back to last weekend. Hunter Johannes, what impressed you the most about him last weekend, and did it catch you by surprise how quick he got off to a good start?
No, that's in his DNA about getting off to a quick start. He jumps both feet in. He doesn't dip his toe in the water. You can tell, he does that in practice, does that in games. And, just kind of like his body of work through college hockey, he's always been kind of that guy that's kind of got after it right away. And, him as well as a lot of our other guys have that same thing as far as the characteristics and traits as far as what they bring to the table in practices and games. And I think it's awesome because at the end of the day, it just pushes that bar up each and every day, and everybody's got to get to that bar. And there's a lot of other guys in our room that does that as well.
He's part of that kind of hard-hitting line for you guys on offense this year, but looking kind of defensively too, I know their second line, the Gophers, had 13 points or whatever from their second line last weekend. Just defensively, what do you need to do?
Yeah, well, know when they're on the ice, right? At the end of the day, they have other good players too. Those are the ones that are scoring the goals right now in this early season. But, knowing what it is on 5-on-5, on power play PK as far as your assignments and your roles, and just being aware of their tendencies. That's our job as a staff, right, to point that out to our players. And then also from the bench, on the bench management side. So I think it's a situation, we got to play our game, right? Like, they have very good players. We got to make sure that we play our style of game and not really get caught up with kind of different things going on their side of it. But absolutely knowing when their influential players are on the ice.
What impressed you most on Dylan Simpson kind of coaching in his first weekend?
I don't know, just the calmness and the confidence, and just kind of the synergy between some of our defensemen, like all 8 of our newer defensemen, and kind of the interaction going back and forth. And like at the end of the day, I think it's a situation where we just talked about controlling emotions, whether it's a high or a low of just trying to be even keel. And I think he did a good job of bringing that levity or that even keelness to our bench.
Coach, with how successful that it's been at home with the start so far this season with 9-2 in the first 2 games, and how well that y'all did last year out at the Minnesota barn, how does that feel to go up and stay at home and have this big home crowd in green for a series as big as and important as this?
Well, that's a great question. But first of all, we've only played 3 games here. Situation, there's no complacency. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that we play at a high level here and have some consistency in our game. That's one thing last year that we were bouncing around last year, kind of up and down a little bit the first half. We want to continue to build and growing. And we realized we had a successful weekend the weekend before, but keeping our foot on the gas and knowing that we have to earn everything we get. We lined ourselves up with some tough opponents this first half of the season, especially in October here, and we want to make sure that we dial into Friday night here. But I just think it's early in the season. We're going to keep moving forward here, and we're going to keep our foot on the gas.